Oh, contraire, mon frère.
What's going on? What's up, Kevin?
We've got a different lineup today. Got to
I'm
fill
not
in. We got to
Vince
fill
Russo.
in. Yes, indeed. We got to fill in. We know Vince and EC3 and I are trios champions on the Wrestling Outlaws.
That's right.
Vince is away this week, and so EC3 is filling in for Vince Russo. Always a pleasure, EC3, to chat with you, man.
I am just what I like about this is the aspect of live. So there could be some interaction, there could be some chatting it up. We can talk shop. I am pretty curious because, like, I don't watch Raw a ton. Like, I watch PLEs, but I'm curious what people thought about the show because I want to see where's my mindset compared to perhaps the average fan nowadays. So what they liked, what they didn't like, what bored the hell out of them, like me. Let's talk about it.
Indeed, indeed. Of course, Super Chat is the way to go. We already got here Cliffside 199 thoughts on Road Dogg's promotion to co-head writers. You ever work with Road Dogg as a writer or any?
Yeah, he was not in a head role. I think he was assistant or like he was an agent for sure when I was there. An assistant. Like, he's great. And I think AJ Styles summed it up better than anybody could. Like, there is absolutely nothing that would have gotten past the person that is micromanaging, changing everything. There's a saying in entertainment where it's called kill your baby, where like you have something that's very personal, very deep, your art, your writing, your show, and you got to cut certain things out to make it fit time. But in lieu of, killing your baby, Vince just killed anything that was probably good. So I think Road Dogg will be an asset. I think he has a really strong mind, and I look forward to that. And that's not me politicking for a job, but I'll talk to you later.
Or is it? Or is it?
No, I believe him. Like, there's very few like really strong creative minds. Like, he had the best of both worlds. Like, he could wrestle, but then he figured it out in the 90s and like had the niche and the character, and like he comes from one of the greatest wrestling families. Like, he gets the whole kit and caboodle of it. So nothing will be perfect though, guys. So
well, what a shocker. Nothing's going to be perfect. You might draw the ire of many fans, EC3, by saying that.
We demand perfection.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So in the pro wrestling world, everything has to be perfect. From what the stories that you heard working under Vince, there was a lot of stories about him having like just random vetoing throughout the day and having just multiple scripts and people having to say, okay, well, you're going to be used, you're not going to be used, you're here, you're there, you're everywhere. What did you experience out of those random vetoing throughout the day of Vince McMahon scripts?
I mean, I was never in a position where anything I did on the show actually mattered. So, it wasn't like, all right, you got a 15-minute match with Seth Rollins, and then 5 minutes beforehand, you got 7 with Gunther. Like, wait, what? I mean, okay, but why? So I never had those kind of experiences. There was a lot of start stops and pushes and stuff of that nature. I mean, a lot of times it's like one head is telling you one thing and the other one's telling you another, and neither are telling the truth, and it doesn't matter even if they were, because the guy on top is the only decision matter that matters, and he doesn't tell anybody anything. So you had to be on guard. And what I do like about it is, like, you do not know with live television what is going to happen. Things will change. Like, I love and thrive in chaos, and I think you need that kind of element, because if everything is rehearsed and pre-planned and thought of for so long, it becomes inauthentic. Whereas, but at the same time, you need some damn structure. And I've heard, like, especially with people on creative, he was rewriting shows that already happened.
Yeah.
That's how far gone he was at one point, where like he shuttled himself into a room like the Wizard of Oz, especially during COVID, wrote shows that like already happened. What the fuck? Like, wild, right?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, it's interesting I imagine that just takes away just the momentum or the flow state of people. I mean, it just puts a damper on it, man.
I think I'm writing a book right now, so be on the lookout for that. But like I talk about the flow state within the world of wrestling quite a bit, and it's super important. And you can't have a flow state if you have no idea what song you're playing, like maybe on that spectrum. But then you can't have a flow state if you have organized and rehearsed time and time again, because you just don't know till you're out there what will actually flow. So wrestling should be like jazz, you know?
Very nice. Very nice.
Little beat bopping booping.
Very nice. A little saxophone here, a little trumpet.
Saxophone.
Yes, a little Dizzy Gillespie, if you will, ladies and gentlemen. We got Cliffside 199. What's your favorite Whodunnit wrestling storyline? That's a good question. What do you think, East?
Can you go? Get my mind working.
Favorite Whodunnit storyline?
It wasn't Who Hit Stone Cold, I'll tell you that much. Because I was just some old Austin Triple H, and like, dude, if you ever saw their No Way Out 2 out of 3 Falls match is so sweet. If you guys haven't seen that, check that out. But then I was thinking of the angle that led up to it where Stone Cold was taken out for the ear, hit by the car, but someone's DNA in it, and it wound up being Rikishi for no reason.
The Rock.
And it was like, but Triple H actually did it, and then he got dropped on a forklift in a car.
Yeah. What Whodunnit storyline actually had a good payoff? Because I'm thinking about a bunch of them that just didn't work. Like the Black Scorpion was a Whodunnit storyline. That ended up being Flair. And that was really weird. And they had a couple of other decoys, a couple of red herrings, if you will. I think Barry Windham was a version. I think Al Perez was a version, ended up being Flair. So that was a lousy payoff. Of course, the greater power, that was a Whodunnit storyline.
That sucked too.
That was a bad payoff. Yeah, that was pretty bad.
I remember because I was such a little mark back then, and I was so pumped to like something new. And then like this is like my first big wrestling disappointment. Like that's it.
Yeah.
I remember trying, like, the internet's new and trying to read, like, I don't understand, because like it was just bad storytelling instead of like this deep plot I couldn't get, but I thought I just missed something. Would you consider the Survivor Series, The Rock being the corporate champion, a Whodunnit, or not really?
That was more of a swerve. I just like the Hummer, the WCW Hummer. That was a Whodunnit storyline. That really didn't have a payoff to it either.
I'm curious.
I think Sid ended up being the person in the Hummer or something like that. Yeah.
If Cliffside could tell us his favorite Whodunnit, maybe get on a path. Good question.
Yeah, it is. We got David. You announced Roseanne, but do not have Dan booked.
All right. Thanks for the $2.
I don't know exactly what that means.
Dan was Roseanne's husband in the show Roseanne, if I recall. Then she died and became the Connors. But I mean, hey, big John Goodman fan here. So
there you go.
Dan.
I imagine it has something to do with Raw as far as booking something, but
wait, does it? There was a Roxana. I don't remember.
Well, there's Roxanne Perez, but I don't know. Maybe the correlation has to do with something on Raw was booked, but
I feel like David's he's over our head, and I'd like him to explain himself, because I'm
have to decode this one for sure. We got Cliffside 199. Could MMA, but with TV writers, work? What do you think? MMA, but with TV writers.
At its core, that's kind of what I don't want to say wrestling should be, because it can deal with the more absurd and the outlandish, but at the same time, we're portraying sport with story being told, and TV writers. I don't know, because like a lot of the best UFC guys that draw the most attention are just insane loose cannons who are talking a bunch of, whereas if you try to make them that, like if you're feeding, I'm not saying feed Conor McGregor his script and see how fast it's ripped up in your face and thrown back at you. But maybe in a sense, a TV writer could take us on a journey, and then hopefully the fights equate to where we want to go. So maybe we want to get to this big fight, but this guy has to go through these things where you're setting the table for it, but the legitimacy stays intact, where maybe we don't end up getting it. And sometimes, especially in wrestling, when things don't go according to plan, are usually when like really great things do happen too. So yeah, I guess it could work. Why not?
There you go. Awesome Sauce, $10. McCool in the Hall of Fame before Leilani Kai jumping Bomb Angels is a joke. Saw them headline a sold-out LA Forum in '88, and they still do cons to earn money. McCool never drew a dime and doesn't do cons with conventions and is wealthy. What do you think? What do you think about that?
I don't know. It's personal.
Fair assessment.
I don't think a Hall of Fame requires doing cons. So I don't know what the WWE Hall of Fame really requires, sort of two, maybe.
Yeah.
I think we have to kind of look at that as just something as a piece of storytelling, and it's not legitimate in the fact that hard work or effort or accolades or what result in Hall of Fame as much as what fits, dare I say, the narrative at the time or who's available that we can use. Like Taker's going to be doing LFG, how do we keep that attention on that without always talking about that? Well, his wife's in the Hall of Fame. They talk about that on ESPN. Maybe one person like checks out the show, becomes a fan. I think that's the kind of way we got to look at it.
Yeah. She's been women's champ twice, divas champ twice. So 4-time women's champion of some sort. Yeah, it's one of those things. She has a good accolades. She has a good resume. But like we've said in our show, like I've mentioned this before when all three of us had a conversation about this before about Hall of Fame. I think, and I've said this on this show too. I just think, or one of the shows that Vince and I have, there has to be a criteria. It just makes sense. Like the MLB Hall of Fame has a criteria, NFL Hall of Fame has a criteria. It's usually if someone is out, if someone retired from the sport and is out for a certain amount of years, then they're eligible to become in the Hall of Fame. And it's usually a vote by a committee. It's just like it just needs, if you want to really make this thing like professional and legitimate, just having some random picks of, we don't know why you picked this person this year, what caused them to even be eligible for the Hall of Fame, especially when Rey Mysterio and Trish Stratus, like you're having people who are still competing after they're in the Hall of Fame. I don't understand the criteria.
I don't love the still competing aspect, because for the legitimate sports athlete fan in me kind of doesn't like that. But again, if we're looking at it as a real sport, what's the criteria for getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, though? Is there a criteria, or is it their impact is being recognized at this moment because whatever we have to sell? So,
yeah. I mean, with the Walk of Fame, with a star, that's not. I mean, it's acting. It's not a sport though. What I mean? It is subjective, but this is supposed to have a sports kind of angle to it. Yes, it's sports entertainment, but it's supposed to have a professional sports angle to it. Yeah. It just makes sense for the Hall of Fame to have criteria. It just, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me as far as, I never understood that. And I never understood especially like Rey Mysterio headlined the Hall of Fame. He was a headliner. So that means that he was the best option. He has been one of the only a few headliners. You're the cream of the crop being the headliner for this thing. You're one of the best of all time. And so you have a Rey Mysterio who is headlining a Hall of Fame, and then he continues to compete and have 50-50 record after the Hall of Fame. So you've already reached the pinnacle of your career by having it minted into being among the greats. So everything after that, it just tarnishes the Hall of Fame induction, and that doesn't look good on WWE as a result. So
yeah, I agree. I would think like dusting somebody off for a big one is different than being consistently active.
Yeah.
When Edge was in the Hall of Fame before he came back from that injury, right?
Yeah.
Like, should they have done an angle where he has to rescind his Hall of to be returned to active duty? You have to rescind your Hall of Fame. That would have been, I don't know, something.
Yeah. You got to rescind your Hall of Fame spot and re-earn it back.
Yeah. You don't win this match, you will never be back in the Hall of
Fame. You'll never be. Eligibility is gone. It's out of here. Yeah. Got to make an angle into a Hall of Fame induction. That's
you came back after you broke your neck and you your life's better and you're gonna, but yeah, you never won a match again. So sorry, pal.
Exactly. Let's see here. David, Vince looks so different with a shave. LOL. Yeah, did you see him at the Super Bowl?
I saw the picture you showed me of him.
Yes. That
was, I think we were commenting his attire choice, and I believe called it a lady's blouse, perhaps. Where I said no, it's just an extra schmedium shirt.
Extra schmedium, man. He wants to show the pecs, the genetic jackhammer pecs and body that he's Vince, man. Yeah. He's got to do that McMahon strut and be sure that the chest is popping out.
For being 78 and going on 666 years old, he looks pretty good.
There you go, man. There you go. Let's see. Awesome Sauce. EC3, I felt Spud would have made a great Raw GM.
The best. Absolutely no doubt about it, Awesome Sauce. You were 100% right. The dude's a maniac. He's in the best way possible. One of the most charismatic, entertaining MFers I've ever known, both in and out of the ring. I agree. He would be a great GM. He wasn't even bad. Wasn't he the cruiserweight thing GM too?
405 Live, yeah.
But then he was kind of like reserved and in his suit, but without the bow tie. Yeah. And he was like, dude, he gets it though, and he's very creative.
I think we saw that with the 24/7 angle with him and R-Truth. I think that was a prime Spud in the WWE for sure.
That was him. Like that was a guy that forced himself to be noticed and recognized, and like him and R-Truth is money, by the way. And like, where wouldn't you want to see these two dynamic personalities squaring off over a pointless trinket for no reason? But him putting out the Lost stuff and like the videos he was putting online for any aspiring wrestler who kind of feels stuck or I'm not getting anywhere, look to him as an example, because that guy defied the odds since his little wienery British ass got into wrestling, and he's had a lifetime and a career out of it, and he's still working at a very high level at it. So
he was so creative that he wanted to shoot an angle at his wedding, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I was there.
Yes, you were there.
It was funny because we did the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
We had the real wedding.
Yeah.
And then the production team comes in. Okay, we're going to shoot something for TV. If you want to be in it, you can. If not, the reception will be downstairs and you can get there then. And then here everyone came and we what an idiot. I loved it.
Who was there in the production that came from WWE?
There was a couple writers, but I mean a decent amount of, people were invited as guests. So yeah.
Gotcha.
I can't remember who was running that show. Maybe it was Mark. I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Very interesting. Vince was not there.
Yeah, but we invited
how much did he? Because I know toward his older, toward him aging, he wasn't there as much, in the productions, but he used to be there all the time, yelling back there as far as what he wanted from production. Who else was in Gorilla during your time when you went to the main roster? Mm-hmm. Vince was in Gorilla. Who else was with him in Gorilla at the time?
Your agent would be there. Probably Michael Hayes was sitting around. Bruce, I wasn't there for him. Vince either looking at his cell phone or not looking at the monitor.
Really, he would look at his cell phone a lot and not the monitor.
If you're about to go out there and you're just watching him and he's just like on his phone, it's
Really?
that's so, like, how disheartening. Like, I can go out there and do something incredible, and maybe the crowd goes, "Oh," and then he looks and goes, "Huh, whatever." Like, you're just like, you're looking at the fact you have no chance with this guy. Like,
Right.
what a good environment. Who else is in there? Usually a writer. There's always a couple stragglers, and Billy Kidman was keeping time.
Okay, he was the timekeeper. Billy Kidman, the timekeeper. Very nice. Yeah. So is it like, so when now they show the gorilla quite often as someone's going through it into the from the curtains into the main area and to the ramp area. So was it the structure that it looks like now? You have the monitors and you have like the table with like 3 or so people there looking at the monitors right in front of the.
I think when they shoot those, they clear some people out. But it's actually looks vastly bigger than it used to be. It was very condensed. It was very small. Really? Yeah, and then if you were there when you weren't supposed to be, holy shit! So you got heat.
Really, you got heat for being a gorilla where you're not supposed to?
What are you doing here, man? Get out! Like, even if your match was next and you're like peeking your head in, like.
was it like some type of Freemason meeting or something like that? Some type of secret society meeting going on?
Very fair way to put it. Yeah.
Really interesting, huh? No, you're not invited until your match is coming up. Huh?
In fact, before you go out for your match, don't even look at us.
Wow.
Don't even look.
We're doing the handshake. You can't be a part of this, man. The secret society. Yeah. Really interesting there. All right. Let's see here. We have Wes Hill, $5. I looked at the clock at 10 and thought, oh yeah, Raw's on. That's how I felt about it. What do you say about that, EC3?
Well, he remembered, at least. Obviously, like what I gathered, because again, I don't watch a ton of Raw. It didn't seem like I had to watch it because I will watch, premium live events to catch up. Like, hopefully there's some good matches and good angles and stuff. But like when I was watching today, it was cool to see AJ back and he gets a good win on his return because he's going to be pushed. And then, Rollins and Finn was really, really good. But it didn't feel like there was an energy there where I needed to watch it. So I get that, and I don't know if it's just there's so much wrestling and so much content where fans are kind of like, I don't need to see it.
Yeah.
But like, when this dude is paying money to talk about wrestling, so he obviously loves it to a high end, and he's still kind of like indifferent that it was even on today. So if your core niche audience is kind of in that mindset, I don't know if that bodes well.
Yeah. Did you watch the January 6th debut?
Yeah.
Now, what contrast do you see from there to here 6 weeks later?
I would say the January 6th debuts seem to be like they're pulling out a lot of big guns.
Yeah.
But I think the mistake made was they're pulling out big guns to appease the audience they already have, as opposed to an audience they want to build. So when I'm watching like the first match, I don't know, it was like 30 minutes in, but we got some sweet hype videos for Solo and Roman. So if I'm a regular person who doesn't know, I'm like, well, this looks cool. Those guys look tough. I don't think the match they have translate to somebody that doesn't understand what's going on. So I think they're like a new fan would be completely disconnected. Like, why are all these people running in? I don't get it. Why, like, they did some chair spots and some table bumps. They worked to the audience and they worked like they were over, which I think, unless you understand what's going, it's like watching the third act of a movie. You walk in like, well, this looks cool, but I don't understand. It seemed like, I feel they have this trope where when they think they're having or announcing a bigger show, it follows the same formula. Like, here are a bunch of legends. Here's Hulk Hogan getting booed. But like, here's here's a bunch of rehashing of things people may know. Like here's John for, a 15-minute promo in the ring. But he's telling a story that's conducive to the business, so I get it. And then when I'm watching today, I guess it was like it had energy the first night, where today I didn't really feel a ton. Also, I don't know if that's just how crowds react now. I was curious to the flashlights during Rollins' match. Is that something that happens all the time now?
Yeah, it happens more frequent. Yeah.
Is it a hit, or is it just fans sometimes tend to do it? It's like I didn't know.
Fans do whatever the heck they want nowadays, man. Yeah.
We were talking about on Sportskeeda, like, high-end ticket. They want to have fun. It kind of has a rock show vibe, which is cool. I didn't feel like I was at a rock show today, short of the main event.
Yeah, it does feel like a stark, in a way, a stark contrast from the loaded, star-studded debut episode. You think if you're drawing an audience, you would want the audience to have that same quality because you're setting the precedence, right? Like it just wouldn't make sense if you go down from what you set in the foundation. This is the beginning. This is the debut premiere episode, and from an episodic television, you're getting better. Like you're sowing more seeds to build up to a climax. You don't build down to a climax. And so, yeah, it just doesn't make sense as far as just an episodic feel to it. And so, I mean, I think at the end of the day, they're satisfied with their current audience, man. And I say this every week.
I mean, and I think like we talk about, they're making their money regardless. And then just become a quality over quantity thing, how to deviate different aspects where you could deliver quality to different people. Nobody felt developed to me, short of the people I knew. So, like, I know Penta's coming in hot and new and gets a push. Short of Pete Dunne wrestling him a couple weeks ago, does he have any depth whatsoever, or is he just a guy? I don't know that.
I mean, I think that the production-wise, they're making him feel very important, which I do like. I do like the fact that they're making him, like with the promos and the vignettes and stuff like that. They're doing a good job with Penta. I just wish that they do better with not having him be involved with people who they have just not done a good job making feel important. They haven't done, Pete Dunne doesn't feel important. Ludwig Kaiser doesn't feel important. Chad Gable-ish, for a hot moment but he start-stop too. It doesn't help him.
Are they doing, because I just had this idea, I don't know if they're doing it, but Chad Gable's on this sabbatical to defeat Lucha Libre. Are they doing anything with that? Because I would have Chad Gable going through a lucha hunter, going through Mexico, learning all the skills and finding secret lucha scrolls. I don't know, but that sounds awesome and fun, where he can come back as this force of nature, the antithesis to the lucha, and then you have Angle. I mean, I'd pay to see that because it'd probably be a good match.
I think that he should come back in a mask, be called Lucha Dark, and have a villainous heelish side of just trying to rid all things Lucha Libre in the WWE. I mean, why not do something with that, man? But I mean, it just seems like there's tons of B-roll footage waiting to happen with this, and we've seen none since he's left.
Comment below if you think Chad Gable going through Mexico to learn the traits of Lucha Libre to take it back to America to defeat Lucha Libre isn't an awesome skit and an awesome bunch of bits that would get him over as
there you go.
Better than Shorty G, man. That was rotten, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, it was lousy. David Duffett, he said a ring announcer introduced Roseanne. Instead of Roxanne Perez, it was Roseanne. There we go. That was Lillian Garcia, man. The legendary Lillian Garcia.
I forgive her. We all make mistakes.
Rollins, $2. Whodunnit, corporate ministry higher power. Yeah, that's what That's what I mentioned. I said greater power because I think the higher power is actually Mandela effect. If I'm not mistaken, I think they called him the greater power.
Don't take me down this rabbit hole. Really? I swear it was higher power.
I think it was a Mandela effect. I think
Bernstein Bears and now this. I can't.
Yeah, yeah. I think the greater power. They may have mentioned higher power and interchanged them on a Raw or two, but I think that the bigger emphasis of that was the greater power, if I'm not mistaken. Whodunnit, Cliffside, Faith Whodunnit, the third man, Bash the Beast 96. Oh yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, Hogan. Yeah. Heenan said, "Whose side is he on?" And Tony Schiavone was like, why would why would you say something like that? And Bobby Heenan was correct. Hogan with the leg, and the build up to it was cool too, man. I think that's a really good one, Cliffside.
It was, really. It changed the effing game a little bit.
It changed it. It changed it for sure, man. Zubair, $5. EC3, I heard you're a fan of Wrestling Jesus and other YWC/IWC content creators. Is that true? And who are you guys' favorite terms of YouTube wrestling talkers?
I'm a fan. Well, first off, praise the Lord, the real Jesus. Secondly, yeah, I'm into anything that is outside the box and creative and, bends the rules a little bit and is fun. And I think specific YouTube, like I see what's on my algorithm, so it's not like I'm seeking it out, but I do give props and appreciate any time somebody gets creative and weird and it catches on. Like, what's that dude's name? Stephen Flo. Like that's sweet, man. I'm a fan of anybody who puts themselves out there and is not afraid to try something different.
Indeed. Yes, indeed. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, greater power, and they both were used. Greater power was used as well. The greater power, yes.
Wasn't that supposed to be Christopher Daniels, or is that just
yeah, that was that was some discussion. I know that Russo mentioned that was I think he mentioned something and it was shot down real quick or something like that.
Yeah, how these rumors, gang, I'll tell you how the sausage is made a little bit. Is like somebody says something without any serious backing behind it. Like, let's say hypothetically it's 2000 and they're doing that. Yeah, there's this guy on the indies that's catching a lot of steam. He's a fallen angel, Christopher Daniels. Maybe he can be the higher power. Like, yeah, I don't know, maybe. And that's all that was ever said. But then the rumor builds and it gets shot out, and then so-and-so's in talks to be this, and the talks are getting intense, and this is actually going to happen, and this is happening, and it doesn't. So that's how it works.
Yeah. All right, let's see here. We have Clipside 499. You get a cha-ching, Clipside. You are piling up here. EC3, what's the first step in making a connection with the crowd? Too many wrestlers on Raw get no crowd reaction for interests in matches. Good question, Clipside.
That's a great question. And to me, I mean, I think it's the individual, the talent, having to feel it. And I think what gets lost a lot, and you can see it, the girls had a really strong match, but there was a lack of feeling at times where, because you're thinking about your back end of your match, or like, I got to go through this suplex, we're going to do a power bomb, got to switch to German, she's ankle lock, like that's going through your head. So when you walk out there, you're thinking as opposed to feeling. People, there's a Cena quote, and it's, if you believe, you'll make them believe, he said once, probably a bunch of times, but like, so if you believe who you are walking out there, they're going to feel it and they're going to connect. And I mean, sometimes it's just looking. You find a couple individuals to make eye contact with, but the camera catches it right. It's something you feel, really. I hope that helped.
Very nice. Let's see here. We have DJ Noel 499. I don't get why some people hate the WWE Hall of Fame. They're the only promotion that makes the Hall of Fame big. You can't compare Wrestling Hall of Fame to real sports Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I agree, DJ. You can't. It's a totally different entity. So we can have discussions, though. We can have discourse.
Yeah.
We can have. I don't hate it. I just, to Chris's point, he has a lot of good points. And then at the same time, I think the point of it is what's convenient or what's the best thing to sell in the direction we're going. I do dislike, as I said, the person that's currently active being in the Hall of Fame because, I mean, what a better angle. It's like Randy Johnson's coming back to pitch.
Right.
One game only.
Right.
Oh my! The big unit is back. Like,
Yeah.
I want to see that, but then if the big unit's on every week, I'm like,
Yep.
it's old and not good.
Yes. And 100% agree. The Allen brothers is going to be inducted in the NFL Hall of Fame this year, and it's like, man, two of the best NFL players in the history. If they come back and start playing every week,
Yeah,
I mean that kind of takes the. I was just watching the slam dunk contest, and Baron Davis and Tracy McGrady, KG. It's like, man, they're there for a reason. They're legends in the NBA. You don't want to see them back because their legacy's being on a pedestal so much, and if you bring down the pedestal legacy and it gets dirty all the time, it's like, okay, I don't want to clean this anymore. It kind of loses that.
One thing that's been one of the few things cool about social media is like old accounts that dedicate themselves to like how good this guy was, because you forget, especially when you're a kid. Like I saw a Mark Price one the other day. I was like, I didn't watch that. He was amazing. Or like there's this crazy pitcher from the 80s on the Cincinnati Reds who just fought everybody. I forget his name. But like seeing that legacy and it back in time, like that's how I'm going to remember these guys. Yes. Where then if you see him again, it's like,
yeah, agreed. Let's see here. We have Dez is in the building. Blessings, Dr. Chris and EC3. This is I hip to Dez, man. He's one of the most, if not the most positive supporter here. Just a awesome super chatter. Very, very positive guy, man.
Big D.
Yep. Another Jey Uso Gunther breakup brawl like we predicted last week. I fast forwarded through Raw in 25 minutes, nothing new. Yeah, very true. Yeah.
Would you stick around and watch though in its entirety, D? I'm curious.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
So clue me up explains to me like I'm a regular person who doesn't live in wrestling, but Jey chose Gunther.
Yes.
Did he give a reason why Gunther was the choice? Because though Gunther is a world champion, it seems like when you have the carte blanche, you want to go for the biggest possible one. So is it because there's a personal vendetta, or was it just because, well, we're not putting Jey and Cody in the main event, so this is what it's going to be?
So basically Jey was unable to win the Intercontinental Championship from Gunther. He also lost against Gunther at Saturday Night's Main Event for the World Championship.
Okay.
And so he came out and, Gunther's basically minimizing him, just being condescending, saying that you haven't beat me, you can't beat me. And so that basically was the start of kind of swaying Jey. And then last week was weird because Gunther basically said, don't pick me because I've already did what I did. I've beat you multiple times. And then he attacks Jey last week while he was celebrating. He already told him, don't pick me, because he gave him a reason to pick him. That was logically, that just didn't make any sense last week.
Yeah, I'll tell to the lovely fan base, especially Big D inside baseball too. It's like when you have 8 weeks to build to something, you have to keep it in people's minds, but also you don't want to give a ton away. So even to me, I probably wouldn't have done the jump. nor would I've done the pull apart brawl yet. But I mean, there's so much TV to fill until you get to the big match where, like, I think it's going to be dependent on creative, which I think misses in wrestling a lot now, is the art of the money promo that like fires you up to see it. Like Jay's promos have been, his one backstage was good and heartfelt, but that's sort of like two dudes or two women, two tough competitors face to face, spilling the beans, letting it out. And like Gunther's promo was cool today, but it was kind of like typical I'm a bad guy 101, as opposed to I am literally the most dominant physical force that has ever held this world title. Am I wrong? Because like,
no,
who is
I
trade? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'd like him to verbalize that. And I think when creative's so like written for people, they can't feel that, and that loses the connection we were talking about. Where I think I know him a little bit, that he can like get some depth of soul. And then we've seen it out of Jay. If we get it out of Gunther, it's going to be times 10 out of Jay too. And then you're going to have some real intrigue for the match.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think his Intercontinental Championship run was money. I think it was fantastic, man. He made himself look like a machine. He was slimy at times when he had Imperium with him too. You know what I mean? So he had that element as well. Like he just seemed more unstoppable when he had Imperium with him. And I think now he's starting to get beat up more. Damian Priest angle, he was getting beat up, you know, numerous times, and he was getting upstaged. It just doesn't feel like he doesn't feel like a machine anymore. I think that really takes away so much of Gunther's gimmick and his character, because he's known for having 500 plus day, you know, WWE UK run, you know, 400 day or whatever, how many days it was. It was a crazy amount of days. I think he had it for, I don't know, 500 some days, 400 some days, the Intercontinental Championship run. And so these runs, you're having those long runs because it makes them feel like an unstoppable machine. Now it's just kind of like, you know, he's cutting these cookie cutter promos. When I think of a lot of the storytelling EC3, the best way I can describe it is, I think storyline wise, WWE, instead of giving us breadcrumbs that leads into the big meal, the big what's on the platter at WrestleMania, I think what they do instead is they just give us the big lump of breadcrumbs all at once, and they expect us to like be full with it and for like 2 months leading into the big meal. And I think that that's a very disjointed way of, you know, leading us and doing those psychological cliffhangers.
Well, it's like being a kid and your parents leave you a jar of cookies. Like, well, that jar of cookies has got to get you to October. So you want to make sure you don't have too many at once.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I'm a child and cookies are awesome. So I'm going to eat them all. And then now I like want more, but I can't get any more.
I'm going to complain about not having more. Whereas you have the opportunity to build this thing up. You know what I mean? Like, give us those cookie crumbs until that big old meal. Instead, you say, here's the jar. Don't do anything, you know, basically manage this wisely. But the emotion level of a lot of those rabid fans are Pavlovian, are, you know, they're not, they don't have like, the satisfactory levels is low. It's one of those things that they don't get satisfied, and so it's insatiable. That's the word I was looking for. And so, like, it's one of those things that you're giving an insatiable fan a jar of cookies and say, manage wisely. That just isn't going to work. It's not going to work. And that's what we're starting to see that with the Gunther and Jey thing. I even predicted last week. I said, I bet you this angle is going to have a bunch of pull aparts. Guess what they're already having? Multiple pull aparts. So,
and like, man, sometimes that pull apart's a great usage in very limited doses. Because, I mean, remember the Austin Tyson pull apart, and even when Tyson Fury was around, like, I think it was Braun, right? Like, pull aparts could be dynamic. And, like, Taker Brock pull aparts were crazy. And then if you keep doing them, it's just like, whatever. I would love, and I would love to see the Gunther promo today he did. And then I'd like to say cut and then go, all right, do it again your way, and then see the difference. And I guarantee, like, every fan would have been, like, captivated on the second run. Not that the first one was bad. He did business. It's fine. But I would really like to see the starting blocks pulled off from these guys. That's the term.
All right, let's see here. We've got DJ back in the building, 499. EC3 would have been amazing if he had the opportunity to be a part of the creative of Evolve with his experience in OVW, TNA, and NWA.
Yeah, I'm a genius. Now I'm a really great creative. That's why I'm writing a book. But if you want to see my creative in action, make sure you're watching Exodus Pro. That is my territory within the NWA system.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't have any of the content online because I'm saving it to drop it strategically here very soon. But we do have 3 of our shows as live streams on the NWA YouTube. So, like, with nothing, we're telling great stories. And what's important to me about what we do there is, like, giving talent the experience to feel a story develop and, like, work with it. And they're working to fans that now recognize them and know them and are connected so they can work like this. When doing this at its highest level is fun is when you're telling a great story and you're involved and invested in it personally, which a lot of times young wrestlers don't get the opportunity because they're out there having good matches or like, I got to do this because this guy's watching or the promoter wanted this, where that's my experiment. So you're right, PJ. I'd be awesome at it, and I probably will be when I retire too, but not yet.
Very nice. I think that your pro wrestling's Kevin Bacon. You know, they have the 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon. I think it's 3 degrees to EC3.
Probably.
Yeah, because even with Evolve, Evolve was ran by Gabe Sapolsky, who ran Ring of Honor, which leads to EC3 being in Ring of Honor.
Remember, like let's take Drew for example. We did a couple bits with Evolve where we were kind of like nefarious D-bags running roughshod. If you watch any of that stuff back, it was really cool. But Gabe let us be us. And that's what launched Drew into being, well, he always was, but like super comfortable being the promo that he is now, which is excellent. And I had fun, and it was cool, man. So, yeah, that's the benefit of doing this is like, you shouldn't have creative freedom because somebody has to be in charge and there has to be this structure and guidelines and you have to have an end destination. But at the same time, to be able to create within it is what makes this worth doing.
Sure. Could take their EC3. Yes, indeed. West Hill, $10. The higher power reveal wasn't good, but the episode is one of my faves. Great Union in-ring promo. The Union. Remember the Union? They were like the rejects or they were like the people who got kicked out of the corporation.
Foley, Shamrock, I think Test, and I don't remember. Weird group.
Yes. Surprise bikini contest and ends with a show choke slamming Taker through the mat. Recommended to rewatch. Yes, indeed.
I will actually.
Yeah, they all carried 2x4s. That was a very interesting group. Union. That was the beginning of the theme song.
That was like 2 weeks long, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a hiccup, man. It was definitely a hiccup. How about GL23, 1999? EC3, big fan of yours, man. First time I saw you in person was 2011 NXT in Dallas when you were Derek Bateman. You wrestled Percy Watson that night. Also, isn't Roxanne Perez a heel? Why are we saying heel versus heel? I agree with that 100%.
Is she a heel? Yeah, that's what I thought. I'll be honest, that match I was calculating something, so I heard it, so I didn't give him the attention. But that's not a disrespect. I just was doing something. Yeah, Percy. Dude, I wish you guys knew and saw some of the things some people did back in the day, because Percy Watson was one of the best like promo characters, especially when he was like the gimmick with glasses.
Yeah.
Like, and he was so new to wrestling, like they threw him in way too early. But when he was allowed to be him, he was one of the most entertaining guys ever. And then that was just one of those things too. He looks like such a legit athlete that they pulled the gimmick from him, and then gave him nothing to go off of. And he's an actor now.
Yep.
So there's this movie with Tom Holland called Cherry, and he plays a drill instructor. And in 5 minutes, you can understand how cool Nick McNeil, aka Percy Watson, was, because he delivers some banger lines.
Yep. Percy Watson was a criminally underrated, in my opinion, color commentator. Man, he was really, really good in NXT. I still think it's one of the best trios of broadcast team in NXT, or just period in WWE, was Mauro Ranallo, Nigel McGuinness, and Percy Watson in NXT. It was a fantastic trio. That was one of the times. I think that was really the last time that I was really, really into NXT. They were really good.
Yeah, I don't know if I was there for that. Maybe a little bit. I don't remember.
Yeah, maybe a tad bit. That was not too far from your. Who was commentating when?
I remember Mauro, because I remember getting mega slammed through a ladder by
Mamma Mia.
Yeah, Lars Sullivan. I'm laying by the announce table, and I heard him go "Mama," and I might start like laughing.
Yeah, that might have been the commentary team when doing that match. So remember, it's him, Nigel, and Percy was the 3-person team for a little bit there. So it's really good.
Gio, thank you for the chat, man.
Indeed, man. Wonderful. Des499. I watched Penta and skipped the rest. Watching Raw feels like watching reruns. Plus, I was tired. I was at my team's parade on Friday. Fly Eagles fly.
Now, talk about a wild time. That parade looked nuts.
Yeah.
And how much fun were the players having, just running through the fans and chugging booze and picking up people in wheelchairs and putting them on buses. Yeah. That was unreal. So thank you for beating Kansas City.
Indeed. I agree. I'm an AFC guy, but I think I'm glad that the Eagles won, only their second Super Bowl ever, which is interesting is many times Andy Reid was just there and didn't do it. And then, 2018, Nick Foles comes from the bench, just throws him in there, wins a Super Bowl, man, cuts a really good, awesome promo about Jesus, which was awesome. And yeah, it was fantastic. 7 years later, they get another one, man. So it was good stuff.
Yeah, Des, I think if you like good wrestling, Rollins and Finn was really good. You know what was good too? Because like they did their cool stuff, like what they do. Yeah. But they sold some stuff. Like the gut versus the knee and the coup de grace. Oh, like that's great psychology. His leg was hurting. He hits the thing on him. Takes him a second to get his stuff together to make the cover, and is that just enough? That's those intricacies I like. That's cool.
Indeed. Speaking of that, let's spend the rest of the time going through the card, and I'll address any other super chats that come up. We got Sami Zayn cut an in-ring promo. Adam Pearce shows up, denies match requests. First Kevin Owens, and then eventually Sami persuades Pearce to make it an unsanctioned match. It's not official. It's unsanctioned.
It's funny. It's just an irony of words, but they replayed that later, and it's like, it's not official. It's unsanctioned. And it threw to Michael Cole, and he goes, it's official. This Saturday at Elimination Chamber. I'm like,
that just takes away the entire last bit of that segment right there. He probably wasn't even paying attention. Like, speaking of Vince, he probably was on his phone. All right, here's your cue. Oh, it's official. Yeah.
What are you saying?
Yeah, it's interesting, man, because I don't know, man. I wasn't a big fan of this segment, honestly. I think it was kind of like insulting our intelligence in many ways, in my opinion, because you knew the payoff was going to be the match And so why drag it just to have the match anyways? It just felt like it dragged to me.
Yeah. Like
Felt like it dragged.
The unsanctioned match means like somebody has to nearly die.
Yeah.
Like, is the feud at that point? Because they feuded their entire lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, where are we at with this? As far as like, is this the penultimate? Is this the final climax? Because I thought a couple years ago they did that. This is the last time this is ever going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, the feud just happened 2 weeks ago. I mean, it was
kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, it was the match. Sami Zayn, he was there during the match between the world title match at Royal Rumble between Owens and Cody. Owens got mad that he didn't do anything, so he just attacked him, and so that was the start of the angle just a couple of weeks ago. And so somehow we got a couple of promos and saying that this one's different. This one's going to be different. I'm never going to forgive you, knowing him within the next year or year and a half, you know, we're going to be teaming together again.
Yeah, powerbombed me through countless things, pile driven me 17 times from my family. Like, we'll probably fight again, man.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, they're in Toronto, Canadian crowd.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to have a great match.
It's going to be a hot crowd.
No doubt, but I mean, does it need to be the unsanctioned? I don't know. Hey, we'll see.
Only reason why this logically makes sense to me is that you want to give Kevin Owens a spot, but you want to protect him as a heel. And if they're in Toronto, you don't want to have him go against an American, to me, because he'll get that Canadian pop as a Canadian.
So having him go, what we did to them in hockey. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So having him go against another Canadian, just it makes sense, you know, to protect him as a heel. So I can understand that. It's just that don't insult our intelligence and say, well, this one's going to be the big one. You know what I mean? Like, just it's a filler. I mean, it's a lead in pay-per-view to WrestleMania. You can do Owens and Zayn. Heck, put a stipulation in it, you know, make it a number one contenders match to, you know, the world championship or something like that, or bring up this Intercontinental Championship and make it something. Like, I think there's things that you could have done to make it have more stakes than just having this be a short feud of, well, this one's going to be different. Like, I just I'm not buying it.
What's the last unsanctioned match WWE's had? Do we know?
Unsanctioned match.
No, drop it in the comments. I'm just because I can only think of like Jericho and Michaels was the last one I can think of, but I'm sure.
That was an unsanctioned match. Yeah. I know that. What's that?
After his wife got punched, yeah.
That was interesting. That was short-haired heel Jericho, man, calling people troglodytes and sycophants, and a very, very interesting run for Jericho. One of his best runs, actually, as a heel. Really good promo work. Very slow and methodic promo work that Jericho had. Really good way of putting more layers to his character.
I think that was inspired by No Country for Old Men, if I remember.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Javier Bardem.
We got Judgment Day doing a backstage promo as always. Nothing new there. AJ Styles, Dominic Mysterio. I mean, this was again predictable. This is as predictable as possible. The end of it was Bron Breakker attempting to spear Styles. Styles sidesteps and Breakker spears Dominic instead. Breakker catches an enziguri and gets thrown out the ring. And so it looks like either we're going to get Styles and Breakker at the Elimination Chamber, or they could be building it to Mania. Which one would you rather see?
Mania. Let them build something where they don't touch. And like you got the new up and coming, you know, destroyer of worlds type versus the best he's ever been, seasoned veteran. I mean, AJ, that'd be cool. That'd be good for him. But if you have an
Well,
elimination chamber, it doesn't feel like a coming up moment. So
this is his second Intercontinental Championship reign, or could you be using AJ Styles as that legendary or as that legend rub to make Breakker look even more big to feed him to Penta at Mania?
hey, different flavors of ice cream. But guess what? I like them both.
There you go. We got Dakota Kai and Ivy Now. I mean, you mentioned this before. What's your take on this, man?
It's the first time I've seen them work full length match, and then like earlier when he was talking about connection with the audience, like that was the first thing that I didn't know if it was a get over or if it was a competitive towards the back end. In the back end, they did some pretty cool, intricate things. I'm not familiar with them enough, but I think there's a trope in wrestling where like you got to reverse everything, buddy's signature stuff every time. So I'm not let's say I'm a fan who's not paying attention to wrestling all the time. To me, it looks like movement for movement's sake. Like as opposed to into this story because I know that she does the German and the ankle lock and she does that neck breaking kick and things like that. And I think they had a good amount of time for a TV match where maybe there could have been more, I don't want to say selling, and I don't like to be the old timer saying slow down because that's not what I mean, but it's like resonating those things that happen. Because I think there was like a big top rope thing and she slid out and hit a power bomb, but then someone's in their ear probably like 3 minutes ago, and then she got right up and like ducked, and then they're in this move, and I'm like, damn, that power bomb was ruthless. And now it's totally forgotten because we're rushing and thinking too much. But like commendable effort, very athletic, and definitely a lot to work with there.
Yeah, this whole thing fell flat for me. Just and it's not shade to Dakota Kai or Ivy Now. It's just a shade to how they're building this division as a whole, the women's division. There's no story to it. It's just matches. You're just giving us matches every week, and so the fans are tired of it too. Unfortunately, as we saw for the Charlotte crowd. Gunther promo from the crowd. We talked about that. Walks up to announce booth. Asked him if Jey Uso could beat him. Throws the microphone. Pat McAfee picks it up. Says, "I hope he can beat him." Kind of gets intimidated by Gunther. Jey comes in. They do the pull apart. Then we
get the Pat and Gunther. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they do anything with that, which I don't think they will. But Pat's got to get back into wrestling mode, man. He's doing such a good job as a commentator that has to go back into wrestling mode. So,
do you like the 2-man booth?
What's that?
Do you like the 2-man booth?
Yeah, I think McAfee's money, man. I think he's fantastic. Yeah, I think he's really good.
I just didn't know if there needs to be a straight man involved. I mean, I think he's great, but he's like
enough. I think Cole's enough for him.
I just think he's so charismatic and entertaining that it could wear on you. Not me personally, but I could see somebody like, he's like a star of the show sometimes, the way he talks.
Yeah. He's color commentators should be charismatic like that. I mean, Jesse the Body Ventura was charismatic. Bobby the Brain Heenan was charismatic. Randy Savage was charismatic. Jerry Lawler was charismatic. So it just fits the mode of really good charismatic color commentators. And so yeah, I'm cool with that. And those were 2-man booths, and so I'm a fan of it. Let's see here. We get backstage interview, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, kind of teasing the Jade Cargill thing. Penta and Pete Dunne, we talked about that. Ludwig Kaiser attacks Penta post-match. Dunne gets in a scuffle with Kaiser, and then Penta does a dive outside of both of them.
Was that too long of a match?
I think so, especially since we saw before 1 and 2. Again, man, these 50-50 matches against people who haven't been booked as stars or important. I think it hurts Penta's stock more than help the other person who he's
I
going against. You know what I
I
mean?
agree. And these, like, really, if you put forethought into it, any talent can get over simply and very quickly with a promo and like a video package
Yeah.
highlighting how they're great at breaking fingers and shit. Like, so it's unfortunate because a guy like Pete's so good at wrestling that he's having a good match, but it's falling flat because the perception of him on TV and what they've done with him
Yeah.
makes it flat.
Yep. We have Roxanne Perez defeating Raquel Rodriguez due to Rodriguez being distracted by Bianca Belair and Naomi, who attacks Liv Morgan backstage. We also have Seth Rollins cutting a backstage interview, having a backstage interview, walks away, Karrion Kross walks up, and he starts cutting a promo on Sami Zayn. So do we have something brewing with Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross? Is there interest in you at all for you, EC3?
Yeah, I'm a big Cross fan, so I'd like to see him be one of those guys I'm talking about that's just allowed to be himself. Because he's like very cerebral, wild-brained, like creative thinker, in the Bray Wyatt sort of style, where it's like, man, I'm intimidated. I think you might be more creative than me, and I don't like it, but he's up there. So is Sammy the right thing? Whatever gets him in the mix is good. So
yeah, but again, man, give me a story. I just, I know that you have you like Karrion Kross, and I think that he's a great character. I've said this before. I think his mind transcends the business, which could be a bad thing, within the wrestling bubble. You would know that for sure. Yeah, I just, there's no story behind it. I mean, he's just cutting promos on Sami Zayn, and that leads to a match.
Sometimes too, like when you're the in-depth thinker that we may be, you also have to give simplicity and basics at a time to sort of reestablish yourself. I don't know if that made sense, but like sometimes you can't shoot highbrow all the time because then it's just over people's heads. But you can do something that would be trope and I don't know, kind of lame, like I'm a bad guy, and then but here's the death behind it because I'm stupid and you're dumb, like that's kind of finding that balance for a big crowd.
Sure. Yeah, the start stops that they've done with Karrion Kross has been abysmal though, and so
that's why it's like it's so hard to like he gets the promo, cool, but like you said, there's no story, and then how does this play to fans who don't have, I don't know, the depth of knowledge that we do are watching this, like breaking it down. Where it's like, that guy, didn't he used to have a gladiator helmet on? And
right.
He had a bunch of big dudes with him at one point. Where's this chick? Like, what's going on?
Yep. Agreed. New Day cuts an in-ring promo interrupted by LWO. All of that New Day build up, heel turn leads to a feud with the LWO, ladies and gentlemen. How about that? Backstage interview, Bianca Belair and Naomi. Still teasing the Jade Cargo thing, and the main was Seth Rollins defeating Finn Balor. What's your take on any of that piece?
Yeah, like I have no interest. I was tuned out. I was right. Like till one of the things when we were talking about coming on, I'm like, very, very few people feel like stars.
No.
Seth does, and Finn is and looks like one. I don't know if he's been portrayed lately because it seems like he's kind of has been, right? So, but still, I'm like, oh, two world-class workers. I'm going to check this match out. And they told a good story and a really good match. Good matches don't necessarily drive the bus, though, all the time because it's star power. So no one felt like a star on the show, short of maybe Rollins. And AJ's entrance, yeah, and like Braun to an extent.
Penta did.
Penta is portrayed
entrance-wise, yeah.
portrayed. I think again, like TV, WWE style training on how to be a top guy. They don't teach it. And sometimes they expect you to figure out, but they don't tell you. So I think Penta's issue is going to be he's going to do what he knows that he does, which is his stuff and this, and it'll get a reaction. But we're never going to have a depth of feeling with it until he's shown that way, I think.
There's so much intrigue to Mystique. Yeah. And I think when you do a lot of selling, like overselling, I think it takes a lot of the mystique away. And I think that in the ring, I don't think it should be as 50-50. I think the mystique doesn't always, I mean, I think the mystique should translate into the ring too. It doesn't mean just go out and destroy people.
No.
Yeah, you get your licks in a little bit, but I still think there should be some mystique in the ring too, because if you're so mystical and so mysterious outside of the ring, no fear, all those things, and then you're getting in the ring 50-50, you're yelling, during spots and overselling and having your fingers mangled and all that against a Pete Dunne who has been poorly booked consistently. I think that doesn't help. If we're trying to protect the mystique of Penta as a whole, you don't want him to be yelling in the ring when he's selling, in my opinion.
100%. I couldn't agree more. You said that very well. And the only thing I would add to that is because it's 6 weeks into his debut, and they want to push him as a star. Yeah. They really are. Where his matches, whenever he can sell and he can get taken down a little bit, and he's not rolling over people. But when that comeback gets rolling and he starts bopping people around, it just rolls all the way through. It's destroyer. It's the deal I would do it for 6 straight months, and then you got a effing star.
Yep, agreed. We got a couple more super chats before we hit the road. Mandela Effect, We Are the Champion song. Interesting. What's the Mandela Effect on the Queen song?
We're going to find
out. I'll go to Dez's as you find that out. This is the strangest road to Mania I've ever seen, Dez says 199. It is an interesting road to WrestleMania. Just inconclusive, so close to it. So,
okay.
Did you find it?
Yes. By Queen. All right. Mandela Effect, We Are the Champions. Queen is that many people distinctly remember the song ending of the world, but in reality, the studio version does not end up that way.
Ooh,
I can see.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, last year, I started watching to get to WrestleMania because I love The Rock. I'm not gonna lie to you. And it's always cool. And Roman hot and the Cody stories, well told, where I had intrigue. And yeah, I'm not saying I'm not intrigued, but it is a strange road because sometimes the destination is okay to know. It doesn't have to be a swerve or a shock or a surprise. But the storytelling to get, hey, you're going to go to Mordor, you're going to throw the ring in the fire. All right, we know that's going to happen. That's cool. How do we get there? That's what's interesting to me. Then short of the main event, Cody, who's going to win the Elimination Chamber? Because Cena's the only one that feels like it's a story with intrigue to me.
Yeah, there's no running story right now. I mean, last year was The Rock coming in, trying to usurp, Cody's position by his authority. That didn't work. Fans turned on him. It was red hot. Year before that was Sami Zayn leaving the bloodline after being a part of it. That leads to Kevin Owens joining him. They dethroning the Usos after them having a historically record-breaking tag team title reign. So I mean, it was just there was 2 years straight where there was really good running story arcs. There's nothing this year. So and right before WrestleMania too.
Is it because Roman isn't on top? Because that's the theme with it. It seems on both times.
Yeah, I think you can do something, Roman, even though he's not on top. I mean, you still have bloodline going on. You've got Jacob who's breaking away. I mean, there's many things that you could do. There's pieces to the puzzle. You just have to put them together and cause intrigue. It's not our job as the consumer to put the pieces of the puzzle together. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the producer's part to do that. So,
I mean,
yeah,
you got Punk in the wings too, so there's intrigue there. And Drew, I don't know, man, but hopefully, like, it's always an awkward time from Royal Rumble to a couple weeks before the real Mania build begins. So maybe they got some tricks up their sleeves, some bangers, or they got a concrete plan. Hopefully, that'd be cool.
yeah.
If not, I'll write them.
Time is ticking. Time is ticking. Let the listeners know where to find you, all things EC3.
Okay, at the real EC3 on the social handles. Check us out at Exodus Pro at Exo Pro on Instagram, and look for my big army of young Nubian minds who are being molded into stars. Kids like PB Smooth, Dante Casanova, Carson Drake. I'm getting people signed left and right. Find me at the NWA, and I guess we're on X at 6:05 on Tuesdays, and then taking it from there. You know, I was the world champion when the business was hot, so not right now.
Wonderful. This guy right here is EC3. Thanks for doing the hot tag and filling in, man. I appreciate it.
I like it. I don't mind talking to my friend and you guys. I like the cordial discourse we had too. So
That's
unless you
indeed.
just shit on me in the comments all the time, I don't know. I can't see him.
Yeah. As of this show, for the most part, lots of adults having lots of cordiality. So shout out to the SK Nation with with their wonderful demeanor and cordiality. So shout out to y'all. Shout out to you. Indeed. This guy right here is EC3. I'm Dr. Chris. This is the Legion of Raw. Have a good night, buddy. So low.